What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The leaders of South Korea and Japan say they will work more closely together to overcome security threats from China and North Korea. Japan's Prime Minister Kishida is finishing a two-day trip to Seoul, where he met with South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol. It was the first visit by a Japanese leader in 12 years. The two cited North Korea's increased weapon tests and China's aggression as factors to further security cooperation. Kishida also said that his heart hurts over Japan's actions during its occupation of South Korea, which ended in 1945. Their meeting came just 2 weeks before the G7 summit in Japan. For more on what the two leaders discussed, our reporter Jaime Ocon spoke to Riley Walters, Deputy Director of the Hudson Institute, Japan Chair in Washington, D.C.
How important is this meeting between South Korea's president and Japan's prime minister?
The meeting between Prime Minister Kishida and President Yoon is very significant, I think, not just from a bilateral point of view, but certainly from Washington. Both South Korea and Japan are very close allies and partners of the United States. And officials here have noticed the tension between these two countries for a long time now. And it's really, I think, welcome to see sort of a thawing of this relationship. This meeting is certainly the highest level meeting between South Korea and Japan for quite some time. It definitely seems like there's momentum behind it. Hopefully that can keep that up.
One of the things to come out of the summit that was held on Sunday is the push for a full restoration of diplomatic visits between the two countries. Given the geopolitical threat in the region, how significant is that?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is if you look how the governments in both Tokyo and Seoul have been thinking differently about the region. Last year, the Japanese government issued their new national security strategy, which talks a lot more about the threat that China presents. The Yoon administration just released its Indo-Pacific strategy. Again, sort of much more southern looking than just on the Korean Peninsula. They're thinking about the greater Indo-Pacific region. With one eye toward China, with another eye towards North Korea, but they're thinking in a grander scheme. And on one level, it's how can we integrate better with what the United States is thinking about and how we are engaging with other allies and partners in the region for all myriad of issues: economic, security, climate change, so on and so forth.
That was Riley Walters, Deputy Director of the Hudson Institute Japan Chair in Washington, D.C., speaking to our reporter Jaime Ocon. Business magnate Warren Buffett says he favors Japan over Taiwan when it comes to investing. He says this is down to growing tensions between China and the United States. In February, Buffett surprised investors by revealing he had slashed his stake in Taiwanese chip-making giant TSMC. This weekend saw the annual meeting of his company Berkshire Hathaway. At the event, Buffett called TSMC one of the world's most important and best managed companies. But he told attendees he would feel better about capital deployed in Japan rather than Taiwan. Buffett has also urged China and the U.S. to improve relations. Some voters in Thailand have begun casting their ballots a week ahead of the country's general elections. Over 2 million people registered to vote early for the country's House of Representatives candidates, an indirect way to name the next prime minister. This is the second election since the 2014 military coup, which was led by current Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, who is seeking re-election. Opposition groups are projected to win a majority, namely the Pheu Thai and Move Forward parties. In the past, Thai politics has been riddled with coups, exiled leaders, and military rule. Some voters are hoping these elections will usher in change.
อยากเห็นการเปลี่ยนแปลงของประเทศไทยไปอีกในมุมมองหนึ่งค่ะเหมือนแบบรัฐบาลชุดเก่าที่เขาได้ทำไว้แล้วก็อยากจะเห็นรัฐบาลชุดใหม่ที่อยากจะเข้ามาเพื่อบริหารประเทศให้มันดีขึ้นกว่าเดิมอย่างนี้ค่ะ
The number of road deaths in Taiwan has hit a 10-year high. According to the country's Traffic Safety Association, a big factor is the rise in delivery scooters. Joyce Zhen reports.
An everyday risk for Taiwan's motorists. Here, road safety is such an issue that fatalities on the streets are 8 times higher than other advanced economies, and that figure is still climbing. According to the country's Traffic Association's latest data, there were 3,085 road deaths last year, a record high since 2013. The death toll from the first 2 months of this year is also already up 10% from the same period last year. Taiwan's former transport minister thinks the boom in moped deliveries are a driving cause. Around 72% of people in Taiwan use food delivery services, as takeout is relatively cost and time effective. But the freelance delivery workers say they lack proper government support. In one union meeting, drivers took issue with delivery apps' free rein to set pay received per order. Coupled with the 12-hour working limits, many drivers race to complete as many orders as possible to make a living.
因为薪资比较短少，大家为了冲那个趟次跟单量，其实真的都没有在顾好自己的生命。
Ultimately, the issue goes beyond riders or pedestrians. Given the country's low wages and rising inflation, the need to make ends meet looms large in the issue to keep Taiwan's streets safe. Andy Xue and Joyce Sen for TaiwanPlus.
Nearly 60 hikers have been rescued from central Taiwan's Nantou County. That's after heavy rains caused the mountain trail they were on to collapse. Fire department staff were dispatched on Sunday to help the hikers cross the river and get to safety. The incident comes as Taiwan's monsoon season begins, bringing showers and thunderstorms to the drought-stricken country. Rains over the weekend mainly hit Nantou and nearby Jiangxi County, but it wasn't enough to fully replenish the area's reservoirs. More than 10,000 people have been forced to leave their homes in eastern China's Jiangxi province, fleeing floods caused by heavy rains. Around 300,000 people across China's coastal region have been affected by floods. In several places, rivers overflowed and farmlands were submerged, causing tens of millions of dollars in losses. Chinese officials say the country's flood season started early this year. Local governments have been told to increase rescue efforts and carry out safety checks on key infrastructure. The world's oceans are quickly getting hotter. Last month, daily average sea surface temperatures hit record highs. As Sally Jensen reports, this could have huge impacts on both wildlife and humans.
Coral bleaching, droughts, unprecedented wildfires, and polar ice melt. These events could lead to famine and displacement for millions of people around the world. And what's behind these changes? In large part, the rapid heating of the Earth's oceans. Daily global average sea surface temperatures are currently higher than ever observed, and this could have catastrophic consequences. Where I'm standing here in Taipei could be underwater by the end of the century. Water expands as it heats up, so as ocean temperatures increase, sea level will rise. Around 230 million people worldwide live within 1 meter of sea level, so hotter oceans could displace countless communities.
There's a potential for speedier melting of Antarctic glacier once water intrudes under the glacier, and that would, in the worst case, lead to up to 10 meters of sea level rise by 2300, and that would be, of course, a major disaster worldwide.
Even small changes in ocean temperatures mean massive impacts on coral, impacting the whole marine food chain. Over 3 billion people rely on seafood for at least a fifth of their protein.
We're talking about millions of people around the world, billions of people, relying on coral reefs to provide them with a livelihood, but also seafood.
Burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas releases greenhouse gases, which heat up the atmosphere. 90% of that excess heat is absorbed by the oceans. And natural events could soon make things worse. El Niño is a phenomenon where ocean temperatures heat up. Climate scientists are predicting that El Niño will hit later this year. This, combined with excess greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, could have devastating results. Given the risks, climate scientists say action to curb human-made emissions is now more urgent than ever.
We need more awareness. Okay, people say, okay, I noticed the global warming, but we do not take the action quickly enough.
It's still unknown what exactly the future holds, but the uncertainty is no cause for comfort, as human activities make the climate and the oceans ever more unstable. Damon Lin and Sally Jensen for TaiwanPlus.
Shrimp farmers in Taiwan's far south are breaking size records with giant shrimp that are well over 300 grams. But as John Van Trieste reports, the shrimp industry isn't as big as it once was.
Here in Taiwan's shrimp capital, an annual search for the biggest shrimp is over. Chaozhou Township's shrimp farmers gathered on Saturday to name this year's champion. The winner weighed in at 356 grams, a new record. But even as farmers here in Taiwan's far south break size records, the local shrimp industry is shrinking. It started with COVID, when seafood restaurants shuttered, and indoor shrimp ponds, businesses where people pay to fish for shrimp as a sport, also closed down. Then, just as pandemic restrictions started to lift, an unseasonable cold hit. Before the pandemic, the township produced 8,000 metric tons of shrimp a year, worth more than $65 million US. That's since halved. Inflation is taking a bite out of incomes too. Local land prices have risen 15% since last year, bringing up rent. Plus, feed for the shrimp is growing more expensive. The township office is calling on Taiwan's consumers not to be put off by the rising cost of shrimp. But whether consumers will bite is another matter. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwanese athletes have claimed multiple medals at the Asian Weightlifting Championships in South Korea. 18-year-old weightlifter Chen Guanling won 3 gold medals in the snatch, clean and jerk, and combined lift events. She set a new national record for each lift in the women's 55-kilogram weight category. Chen is considered a rising star in the sport. Guo Xinchun also won 3 bronze medals in the 59-kilogram weight class. The 2020 Olympic gold medalist was competing with a back injury. She's still on track to qualify for the 2024 Olympics in Paris. A biannual puppet festival in Mexico has been attracting people from all over the world for more than 2 decades. Jeremy Olivier takes a look at what's on display at this year's event.
This is not your average puppet show. Rather than the wooden, lifelike creations you would usually see, these human performers have taken on the role of marionette. It's part of the biannual Feast of the Puppets, an international puppet theater festival in Guadalajara, Mexico. Organizers say they hope to shatter audiences' assumptions of the limits of puppetry.
El festival tiene de origen varios objetivos. Uno de los más importantes para nosotros fue al inicio el revalorar el arte de los títeres, que la gente conociera todas las posibilidades ilimitadas del arte de los títeres, que la gente tumbara sus prejuicios en relación a los títeres.
Besides the human actors, more traditional works are also on display. Puppets like this rabbit, this deer, and this fierce-looking wolf-like creation have gotten lots of attention too. Many are made from recycled materials.
Pero desde la construcción tú estableces un diálogo con la materia, con los objetos que están allí, un poco como ligando la lógica de la escultura del siglo XX, los vacíos, la integración de objetos en la escultura, el diálogo entre materiales.
The festival includes street performances, theater plays, and workshops for budding puppeteers. A puppet exhibition showcases some of the world's most innovative designs. Now in its 12th year, Feast of the Puppets continues to dazzle puppet artists and enthusiasts from across the globe. Devin Tsai and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of AI-created stainless steel statue on display in Stockholm, Sweden. I'm Yvonne Young. Take care and see you next time.